What's going on, everybody? Welcome on in to Sports Live in the 215. Today we have a very special guest coming on the podcast, the host of the afternoon show, the host of the High Hopes pod, and the soon to be released author of the Ring the Bell Phillies baseball book, Jack Fritz. Jack, thank you for joining me.
Of course, it's my pleasure. Busy times, and at least the Phillies are starting to play better baseball. So it's not the freak out like we had earlier in the season.
Yeah, their bullpen is starting to turn it around. I know Romano gave us a bit of a scare in game one of the doubleheader yesterday, but he figured it out. But yeah, like I think their bullpen is um gonna start to turn it around or continue to turn it around, and we'll see what happens. With that being said, let's get into this interview.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
So first, I know you obviously played baseball. Were you into any other sports growing up?
Yeah. So I was an only child, and some my parents both worked. So I feel like they try to get me to try as many things as possible. So I played pretty much everything growing up. I mean, like soccer, I played until I was 9. I played football for 1 year. I'm not a contact guy. I'm not out there. I'm not looking to hit people. So me and football weren't exactly the right match. I played golf. Golf I played my entire life, and I played in high school. And then I was always too. Again, I was not a physical kid, so I didn't like playing basketball. I didn't like getting down in the paint, and I was always bigger. So I always just wanted to shoot threes. That's all I cared about. But baseball and golf really became the two that I love the most. And I played golf all 4 years of high school, and then baseball. I was lucky enough. My arm was just good enough to be college worthy, and then eventually got to college, and it turns out it was not college worthy. The arm was brutal. But yeah, baseball and golf really separated themselves as I got older.
And correct me if I'm wrong. You played at Bloomsburg University.
I did. Well, I would say I participated. I pitched like 15 innings in 2 years, maybe. That feels even high. That feels like way too many innings. I might have pitched under 10. So, but I did put in the work. So, freshman year, it was funny. Like I got there freshman year. I had a scholarship. So, they clearly thought I was going to be good. And then I remember I was throwing with my roommate who was a walk on, essentially, like a preferred walk on,
Yeah,
and he threw harder than me, and I was like, well, this might be a problem. So
yeah.
it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of work, and I learned a lot from it. But ultimately, after my sophomore year, when I didn't really see myself on an upward trajectory, I had a hard time. I had a hard time kind of grasping the idea of, wanting to continue to play versus focusing on my future. So I left after my sophomore. I quit after my sophomore year, and just focused on radio. And I think that might have been a not a bad decision.
De- Definitely not. Is there a story that you have as far as like how you got kind of bit with the sports loving bug?
Wow, it's been my whole life, And what's funny is, and I think part of it was being an only child because, it was just kind of me and my parents. And then sometimes when they had to go to work, it was just me. And I would just watch the recorded Sports Center back when they had recorded Sports Centers and it wasn't just live or it wasn't just first take. And I would just watch the recorded things over and over again. So I don't, my first memory of life, I believe, is I remember sitting on the couch with my mom watching Doug Peterson play quarterback for the Eagles in 1998. So I just it really I don't even know when the first it bit me, but I just know when I was that young, it's all I cared about. I mean, it's all that I watched, it's all that I talked about. And maybe it was a way that I try to talk to other little kids and become friends with people. I have no idea, but I think sports and becoming obsessed with it was a way for me to like make friends in a way. So I just remember from really day one, I've always been a sports nut, and baseball specifically was a lot because of my granddad. My granddad was a huge baseball fan, and he got me super super into the sport. So if you want to blame anyone, you can blame my granddad for all the baseball takes.
That's fair. I I, I know I know the guys on the afternoon show kind of rip on you for being a baseball guy, but as a baseball guy myself, I appreciate that there's another baseball enthusiast on the radio. So you're,
Yeah, well, yes, it's good. I need to speak up for people. Got to let everyone know that while we all love the Eagles, and while I am well aware that it's a football town, the baseball team also matters too. So, I appreciate you being on this journey with me.
yeah, of course, dude. Of course. Which actually, speaking of working in sports media, did you always want to work in sports, or did you have another career in mind?
Well, so it's interesting. So as first, I always knew I wanted to marry my wife. We dated in high school, so I knew I needed to be a responsible adult and try to do the right thing and try to make money and so that we could eventually live our lives and stuff. So me trying to be the smart guy, trying to be the responsible adult, I said, all right, I'll go to Bloomsburg and I'll be a finance major. And when I was there as a finance major and I realized I was horrible at math and my GPA was just cratering, I was like, this probably isn't going to work out. I realized probably earlier than my freshman year, but maybe it was hammered home my freshman year of college that I'm really bad at caring about things that I don't care about, and math is certainly one of them. So it wasn't the right mix. And then after my freshman year, I just remember sitting there and trying to decide like whether I wanted to go a teaching route. I always thought teaching would be fun, or if I wanted to go what I really wanted to do, which was talk about sports and have opinions on sports. And I didn't know if I could do it. I didn't frankly think I could do it. I didn't like. I mean, it's such a huge field. Everyone seems to kind of want to do it. I've been lucky along the way, but yeah, I would say after my freshman year, I was like, well, I'm passionate about it. I want to do it. I might as well, cannonball off the deep end and jump all the way in. So
Yeah,
that's kind of what I did.
and there's a quote that I've honestly started to live by since I've kind of delved full force into the podcast, and I know like all successful people would subscribe to this school of thought. If your dreams don't terrify you, you're not dreaming big enough. So
Yeah.
props
Well,
to
and,
you
and
for
Well, and on top of that, I think it's interesting. The one that I always liked a lot was if you do what you love, the money will follow.
yeah.
You know, so those kind of things, especially in sports media, you have to because you work a lot of before you even eventually quote unquote make it. You're doing a lot of stuff for free, and you're just trying to get your name out there. So
Yeah.
it's certainly tough. It's certainly tough.
do, doing a lot of grind work for sure. We touched on your freshman year of college. One of the things that I want to know is what was your career like kind of post college?
Yeah, so when I graduated, I was out of work for 8 months, and I was making dog bones for my dad. We have a dog biscuit company,
Yeah,
so I was in a church. I was in a church kitchen with an oven for 8 hours a day during the week, making dog bones by myself. And I was obviously listening to sports radio the entire time, which I think actually gave me a good baseline for how I wanted myself to sound if I ever got in that position.
yeah.
So I was making dog bones for my dad, and I was an Uber driver for a little bit. So
Wow.
yeah, I know, which is funny. Yeah, it was an odd one. It was
Oh
an
my
odd one.
God.
So I in college I had an internship at the other sports radio station in Philly, and that's where I met James Seltzer, and that's where I
Yeah.
met John Marks. And when I went back to school, kept in touch with those guys, and even when I was out for 8 months, still kept talking to them, and eventually they were able to get me on the street team at WIP, which is a it's this thing where you go to all the events. So when we're on remotes or we're on we have events at night with the hosts, you go, you set up, you tear down, but technically you work for WIP. So I did that for a couple months. I was able to start producing on top of that, and then within 6 months of starting at WIP, I think. I mean, I started March of 17, and then I got the full time evening show job producing January of 18. So within less than a year, I was full time as an evening show producer. So
Oh,
it was a really quick start, and it's been a really quick kind of, I guess you could say, rise to where we are now.
uh, yeah. It sounds it. I mean, if I'm sure if you told the Jack that was a finance major his freshman year of college, he probably wouldn't have believed you. So, wow, man, that's incredible. That's just such an incredible rise for sure. Um, and I I wanted to ask you. Speaking of WIP, what's it like working with Spike and Ike Reese, with Spike Eskin and Ike Reese?
It's the best. I love those guys. We and I was never Spike is a warrior. He's worried about everything.
Yeah,
And when he was coming back, he was worried about this and worried about the like a lot with the show. And you appreciate the worry because it shows that he cares. But the one thing I never worried about was our chemistry
yeah,
and what the show was going to sound like, because we were all friends before, and we're still friends now.
yeah,
And I think it's actually becoming. I think the show might be coming too inside jokey. We just make a lot of inside jokes the entire
yeah,
time and see if anyone else picks up on them, which I find funny. But
yeah,
no, it's the best. I mean, Ike is exactly how he is on the air, off the air as well. We formed really fun friendship and coworker kind of ship there, and it's fun every single day. I mean, I know we talk about sports, but I think what makes a great radio show great is making people laugh, and I hope we do that, and I think that we do that. So if Ike's laughing, usually the rest of the audience is laughing because he has an infectious laugh. But yeah, it's a blast going to work every single day. We have a lot of little bits that I have become a huge fan of, like Flyers and 50. I think I love when Broads comes on and yells for not about nothing for
yeah.
5 minutes.
Uh,
I just Tornado Shapiro is great. So I can't believe the show's only a little over a year old. It feels like we've been doing it for 5 years, and man, I think the next 5 to 10 years are going to be real, because I think the teams are going to be good. By the way, like I think the Eagles have to really fall off a cliff to be horrible, and the Phillies same kind of thing.
yeah,
Sixers, we'll see how they kind of navigate their way through this, but I do think Maury's a smart enough GM.
yeah,
And honestly, I don't know about you. I've like been reminiscing about the old Flyers, and I'm not even a huge hockey guy, but like, I would love for the Flyers to be relevant again in this city. So maybe they I hope they're building it. I hope they're doing it the right way. I don't want to pretend to be an expert, but man, I the next 5 to 10 years of the show, I think have a chance to be really really special.
Yeah. This is this is kind of a this is kind of a point I just wanted to mention for myself. Like I've been subscribed to Broads' YouTube channel for since I was like a junior in high school. So to
Nice.
see his rise like along with you guys is pretty cool. So um, could not be happier for all of you. That's for sure. Um,
Thank you.
Definitely. And segueing kind of out of WIP for a little bit. What what's it like? Kind of like achieving that that work life balance. Obviously, I know you have a young family now. So how has that been? How's how's that been going and things like that? Yeah.
Yeah.
How
Well, it's a really tough but important balance. I don't want it to. I never. I. It's a tough balance because I work hard and I want to work hard and I don't want to slack at all. Like I have this big fear of like missing something or this big fear of falling off, producing wise and really talk about the Phillies wise. That's like I I have a fear of not being on top of everything. And I also I'm a very involved dad, so I want to be there for everything and want to like I don't want to be tired. I don't want to be saying I got to do this, I got to do that. So I think I'm still figuring it out every single day. Obviously, Jill is a huge help from that standpoint. Um, but it's a constant battle. It's a constant. Well, like I don't really do anything besides work and go home now. Like I don't. There's I don't go out. I don't. I'm not going to games or anything. Like I just I find it really important to be home and doing as much as I can for my job to make sure that I am still good, but also doing as much and being around as much as I can while I'm at home. So it's a balance that is a lot. The job requires a lot, and I drive a certain amount. I have to drive like 55 minutes every single day, so I'm in
yeah.
the car a lot. But I'm still trying to figure it out. But I definitely am trying to make sure that family is number one because it's just been a blast. I mean, it's just been an absolute blast. So I'm trying to find the right balance, and I hope I'm doing a good job of that.
I bet, and I'm sure you are. Now, just for my own information, like, do you listen to sports talk radio when you're in the car, or is it just like, or are you just kind of alone with your thoughts, kind of locking in for the afternoon show?
Yeah, so it's interesting. Well, first off, I talked to Spike for like a half hour, so that takes up a good amount of my drive. So I got to hear about his house, I got to hear about this, I got to hear about that. But it's it's fun. Sometimes I actually like I talk to my parents, whatever. So I
Yeah,
would say a good portion is phone. And then yeah, like I'll turn it on and just kind of get a gauge of what they're talking about. I love listening to Joe and Hugh and Kyle on my way in. So
yeah,
I probably spend like 15, 20 minutes listening to that. But sometimes honestly, I am talk radioed out a little bit and I just
yeah,
want to listen to music. So I'll just turn on some music and listen to some jams and there are times 100% where I'll just drive in silence. I don't care. I'll drive in silence and just think about think about what I can do. It's so bad though. Like I want to use that time to like think of the top five or think of something else, but I can't think when I'm in the car for some reason. So and then on the way home, that's usually when I'll turn on a podcast or something and I actually listen to some other sports radio around the country and just see what they're doing, see if
Yeah.
we're missing anything, see if we're doing it the right way. So yeah, I sample a lot of stuff, but it's never like a set routine or anything like that.
Yeah. In like the foreseeable future, where do you see like your career going? Ideally, do you want to stay at WIP long term, or do you want to potentially make a move? Like, where's the next step for Jack Fritz?
It's a good question. If you have an answer, let me know. No, I would love to stay at WIP. It's all I've ever known. And we're in a really good spot just with the teams and where the show is. Obviously, I want to be a host one day. Have my own show. But also, I got to remind myself that I'm 31. A lot of you don't really. There's not a lot of full time hosts in their young 30s. So I'm in a very 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 good spot. And then I mean, we'll see. That I don't have any plans to leave WIP. So as long as they'll have me, I'll plan on staying around. But I'm going to continue to grow the podcast, some Philly stuff. We'll see if maybe down the road something with the Phillies happens. But at this point, I got no intentions, and I love being a part of WIP. It's truly family. So as long as they'll have me, I plan on staying.
That's fair. Speaking of the Phillies, I know you guys mentioned on the afternoon show potentially bringing back Reese Hoskins. Like,
Oh yeah.
if if they do bring back Reese, where do you see him playing?
Well, I see him playing first base, and I know that would displace Harp, and Harp obviously is not a really good job at first base, but I think that when he said a couple times this offseason that he would move to the outfield if it meant adding an impact bat at first base. And I don't know how many impact bat first basemen are out there that are right-handed and can hit home runs. I mean, like Ryan O'Hearn's a name from the Orioles, but he's a lefty,
Yeah.
so I don't know if I want to add another lefty to the mix.
Yeah.
But so I think he'd play first. I know it'd be a downgrade defensively, but for what I think it would bring offensively, I just think that would way out greater than whatever perceived negative it would bring to Reese at first base. And in talking to some people out in with the Brewers, he hasn't been a butcher over there for them. He's improved a little bit. And they're a team that really values defense. It's like the thing that Brewers care the most about.
Yeah.
So I'd have him play first base. I'd put Harp in the outfield. I'd have Kepler be our Jeff Jenkins, and I'd see if we can mash our way to a world title. I just think it would. I think it would make the Phillies better. I really do. And yeah, I mean, maybe you could DH and you could put Schwarber out there and keep Harper at first base, whatever. You could mix and match with that. But I think there's a lot of positives to Reese coming back.
Yeah. Do you think like the Schwarber being out in left field do you think that's a, that's just enough of a like solution for your outfield? Because I know we haven't really seen him in the outfield in a couple years, but from just like if memory serves, he wasn't the greatest out in left
No,
field. But
no. So I don't really want Schwarber in the outfield. I think it could be maybe something you do once a week. I mean, if you remember last year, he played 3 games in left field, I believe, and the third game he pulled his hamstring and missed 2 weeks.
yeah,
So we don't want that. We can't have that. We can't have that at all. So I think that's like a break glass in case of emergency kind of thing with Schwarber to the outfield. Because and I don't want what he is currently doing at the plate to be affected at all. And I
yeah,
think maybe going out in the field, having to run around a little bit, maybe it makes him more tired. Maybe it makes him not be in the cage in between innings, getting work done in there. So I don't really want him in the outfield. But again, this team did win a pennant and went to Game 6 of the World Series with Rhys Hoskins at first base and Kyle Schwarber in left field. So
Yeah,
it is possible, I guess.
it, it's it's certainly possible. It's just not the ideal scenario. And like Reese was my favorite player when he was here, honestly. But I just have but we'll see what happens on that front. I just have one final question for you. Any do you have any advice for for people like that want to get into the sports media field?
Well, it's a loaded question. It's a loaded question. I do have I have some advice. I'll try to make it as concise as I can. One is definitely develop a brand and find your voice and see how you want to be perceived by people. And make sure people know when they tune in to your podcast, who are you? And in using me as an example, I ask anyone. You can't ask anyone on the street and they would know who I am. But let's say you ask anyone that listens to sports radio, and you say Jack Fritz, and they would say Phillies. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like it's that's my thing. So I think branding, so developing a brand, whether that's doing a podcast on social media, doing videos. I guess I will never be able to figure out TikTok. I don't need another social media platform. But it's a medium that people are using. Instagram. So just finding a way to kind of stick out, but developing a brand, being passionate, I think is a huge component of it. So being passionate, being consistent. I think a lot of people start podcasts and then they just go away. Like your audience like needs to hear from you when things are happening. So if it's 3 times a week, you gotta do 3 times a week. Even if there's sometimes you're doing a podcast and it sucks and you don't want to do it, you got a million things you'd rather be doing. But it's about being consistent, being there for your people. We learned that with High Hopes. When there was big news, people wanted to hear from us, and we had to, even if it was 10:30 at night, you got to just do it because your audience needs you, and they care about the teams, and you got to care about them just as much. And I think me and Seltzer certainly do that. So developing a brand, finding a way to stick out, finding your voice, getting comfortable talking into a microphone is huge. Takes a long time. Takes a long time. It's not easy. It's not an easy thing to do. Listening to other things and seeing how you feel and seeing if that's something that you can kind of emulate. It's okay to take how other people talk or whatever, and just making it a little bit different. But if it's something you like, okay, I can do that. So, yeah, I think the biggest thing is if I can quote unquote make it, then I think anyone can make it. So, but I think it comes down to branding, having opinions, not being afraid to throw something out there, and if someone doesn't like it, okay, whatever. It is what it is. We agree to disagree.
yeah,
So being okay with receiving backlash. Obviously, you don't want to put anything out that's like harmful, but if it's just talking sports, it's just talking sports. So, but yeah, I just think that being consistent, having a message, knowing who you are and what they're going to get from you, and being consistent is really really important. So, I hope that can help.
yeah. Definitely helps. Again, I really appreciate you taking the opportunity. And again, you can catch Jack Fritz on the afternoon show with Ike, Spike, and Fritz, the High Hopes Pod with James Seltzer, and the the Ring the Bell Phillies baseball book. When does that come out?
So we placed the order last week to get a whole shipment of them in. So I hope that we'll be able to send them out at the end of June.
All right, be on the lookout um, for Ring the Bell wherever you get your books and reading media. I really or written media. I really appreciate you, Jack, for joining me. It was such a pleasure, man. Thank you so much.
Of course, pleasure is all mine. Thank you so much.
Of course.